Welcome everyone to this video where we're going to be looking at a BBC News article today on a legal topic and reading through it and taking some of the advanced vocabulary that we see. There's going to be some formal, semi-formal, and informal expressions and vocabulary that we're going to look at. And this is something different that I'm doing this week in this video because I don't usually look at news articles and go through it like that. But I think it's definitely a really effective way of just going through it with you on video. You can grab your pen and paper, take notes, and it's a good way of understanding these pieces of vocabulary. You may already be reading articles like this and understand the vast majority of the article, but you may still have doubt and hesitation about how to use this vocabulary in context, what type of kind of word it is in English. So I'm going to be explaining that all to you today. I have about 15 or 16, a list of 15 or 16 different pieces of vocabulary that I've seen in this article that's going to be interesting. So without further ado, let me share with you the article now. So let me share my screen and I'm going to show you. Yes, here. And I'm going to also. Okay, so as you can see, this is taken from the BBC and it's Meta is child abuse breeding ground lawsuit claims. So this is a topic which touches on technology law, child protection as well, criminal law. So, an interesting topic, and I'm going to change now to a PDF version that I have so that I can make notes and annotate for you. So, yeah, don't hesitate. I recommend you have a pen and paper at the ready so you can take notes on all of these. So, yeah, here we go with the PDF. Okay. So, as you can see, I have highlighted that word that was in the headline, breeding ground, and I'm going to explain it to you now. So, a breeding ground is a space where usually something of the negative sort grows. We often say like this is a breeding ground for germs. Yeah, so a breeding ground. So a space where often negative things grow and develop, like germs, virus. We spoke about this during COVID actually. So it's the same idea here. They're talking about Facebook and Instagram being a breeding ground for child predators. So that's a really big claim that they're making here that that these social media platforms are spaces where something negative, something so horrific as child abuse and child predators, they are growing and developing on these spaces. So that is a breeding ground. To breed, of course, is to populate, um, to have children, for things to grow and develop, reproduce, to reproduce. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah, a breeding ground. Okay, the next thing I wanted to highlight was phallic. And this may be kind of similar in your language if you're speaking a Latin-based language, but it's this basically when something resembles the male reproductive organ. So this is something that is really sinister when it comes to sending these kinds of pictures on social media to children, for example. So sent phallic pictures and solicitations. Solicitation, again, this word might exist in your language. It's about when when you are someone is promoting something to you or recommending something in a very strong way. So it can be a bit pushy when you are solicited, the solicitation. So if you can imagine when when this investigator set up the fake account, um, they set up fake accounts that were sent phallic pictures and solicitations. So testing, would child predators solicit them, for example? Okay. So the next thing, so he asked the court to order the firm to make changes to protect its youngest users, alleging it has refused to do so voluntarily. And in response, Meta said it worked hard predators to root out predators. So a predator, like you have the shark in the ocean, who is the predator of the small fish. So a child predator. But this phrasal verb is very interesting, to root out. So the root of something is the base, like the root of a tree. It's where it grows from. So it's very important. When you take something out at the root, you kill it, basically. If you take a tree or a plant or a flower out at its root, you're effectively killing it, stopping it from growing. So it's that idea of rooting out, removing these predators. So they're working hard to remove predators from their social media platform. So yeah, this is a phrasal verb, and I would say that it's an interesting one to know. I think root itself, the word, not my name, Ruth, but root itself, the word, would be interesting to remember. The root of a tree, and then this idea of rooting out. It's not something that we're going to be using all the time, but I think a passive knowledge of this phrasal verb is very interesting. Okay, so let's move on then. Okay, so but New Mexico said searches by its investigators revealed that some kinds of exploitative child material was 10 times more prevalent on Facebook and Instagram than on sites such as Pornhub and OnlyFans. State investigators reported groups and accounts sharing child porn content to the company without effect, according to the filing. So the filing is just basically what we're talking about here, the lawsuit. It's a synonym for the lawsuit or the court case that is happening. Our investigation into Meta's social media platforms demonstrates that they are not safe spaces for children, but rather prime locations for predators to trade child pornography and solicit minors for sex, said Attorney General Torres. So here I would definitely highlight the word prime, a prime location, and I would say even these first think of important. Okay, so I just want to check how we are doing with time and everything. Okay, so yeah, let's continue. So we have, as I said, we have quite a few vocabulary to get through, and I'm just going to continue reading and pick out some of these most important pieces of vocabulary. So the next sentence here, the US law shields companies from liability for content posted on their platforms. So what does it mean, shield? The US law shields companies from liability. If you want to think about it for a few seconds and put it in the chat, that would be a really good way to engage with this and to think of how you could use it. So to shield someone from liability. So like this basic essentially means that the US law is not making companies liable for content posting on their platform. And this word shield is very interesting how they use shield here, because shield is that idea of, when you are a soldier in battle, you have your sword and you have your shield. And a shield is a way of protecting you from danger. So they use the word here, shield, for talking about how US law shields companies. But I think this idea of shielding children, who is protecting the children in this situation? So we could definitely say that children need to be shielded from predators, from child predators, but actually not. That's not what is happening. It's actually the U.S. law is shielding companies from liability. So I think that's an interesting choice of word here. That idea of protection. So the new law, but the new Mexico lawsuit said the recommendations made by Meta Software meant it was not simply acting as a publisher. Facebook and Instagram are not simply presenting content created by others, the lawsuit said. Instead, okay, let's go back up. I jumped there. Instead, Meta's algorithms operate social network of users looking to buy and shocking. What is this word? It's interesting if you go to the UK, also in Ireland as well. Do we call it casualty? Um, yeah, casualty. Casualty is another word for the emergency room or the accident and emergency room. So, ER, emergency room, that's what they say in the United States of America. But in the UK, they will say casualty. Sometimes they might also say accident and emergency room, which I think is a bit more clear. But casualty is so if you are injured, if you are a victim in some kind of well, usually it can relate to war, it can relate to accidents and things like that. So a casualty is a victim of an accident or war or anything. So a victim, I think a good synonym here is victim. So these children, they are victims and they are also the currency. So they are the pictures of this explicit material is a currency um with the algorithms. Okay. Really shocking stuff. So that's all for this page. We've got how many have we done? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Okay, we have 9 pieces there. Some of them, are nouns, verbs. We have casualty, that's a noun. Shield is a verb. Prime is an adjective. Location, that's no, that's a fairly intermediate word, but prime is an adjective, filing is a noun, root out is a verb, a phrasal verb, predator is a noun, solicitation is a noun, phallic is an adjective, and a breeding ground is a noun. Okay, so let's move on to the next part here, and I'm going to pick out a few more pieces of vocabulary for you in this article. So let's continue reading. The lawsuit filed in state court said Meta had duped young users and their families about the safety of the platform, breaking laws that bar firms from deceptive practices, and created a product that is a hazard to public health and safety. So, 2 words here that I think are interesting duped, duped. There might be a similar word in your language, but duplicity or duped, it's like this idea of tricking or deceiving. So they have deceived young users and their families. They have been tricked about the safety of the platform. The young users and their families, they believed that Meta was safe, but actually that was false, and so they were deceived by that. Breaking laws that bar firms from deceptive practices. So bar here is not a bar that we go to for a drink. To bar here, it's actually a very important word in legal English. And I would say it's a little bit less formal than, for example, I was going to say to outlaw or to prohibit. So it's that idea of prohibition. They are barring firms from deceptive practices. They are prohibiting firms from deceptive practices. Okay. In short, Meta has allowed Facebook and Instagram to become a marketplace for predators in search of children upon whom to prey, the lawsuit said. The lawsuit personally names Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, saying he called the shots and had denied the requests to make design tweaks or investments that would have improved child safety while making misleading public statements about the issue. So, 3 pieces here: call the shots, tweaks, and misleading. So call the shots. If you look, and we were talking about a bar a moment ago, but if you look at the word shot, you might know that when you go to the bar that you drink a little shot glass of, I don't know, vodka, some kind of strong spirit that you'll have a shot of. Well, so just try to think of that in your head. So it's like a small drink. To call the shot is to control something. So maybe you already can understand it from the context, but that's really what it means. And so I don't know if I can link this to drinking a shot in a bar, but if you wanted to remember it, you could imagine Mark Zuckerberg drinking a shot of vodka and he is calling the shots. He's calling the shots. He's controlling the situation. So the lawsuit personally names Facebook founder that he controlled the situation and that he had denied the request to make design tweaks or investments that could have improved child safety. So if this is true, this is really, really, yeah, this is not a not great on the founder, like, this does not paint him in a good light. So a design tweak is when you tweak something, when you make a small change to it, when you adapt the design to, well, in this context, adapting the design to improve child safety and making misleading public statements. So I'm not sure, I mean, maybe you understand misleading, but I'm going to explain it anyway. I think as well this negative adjective, so could be misused. So it's actually the mis part of it. So you have misleading when something is deceptive. So that's another synonym. We had duped up here to deceive young users. Well, this idea again, making deceptive public statements. So to mislead someone is not to lead them in the correct direction, in the right direction. You're leading them in a different direction that is not true, that is deceptive. You're misleading them. Okay. So let's continue on. We have a few more paragraphs to read. He promised publicly that he directed that Meta safeguard children, but privately demanded and delivered the opposite, the lawsuit said. In a statement responding to the New Mexico allegations, the company said child exploitation is a horrific crime and online predators are determined criminals. We use sophisticated technology, hire child safety experts, report content to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and share information and tools with other companies and law enforcement, including state attorneys general, to help root out predators. Yes, state attorneys general. Meta is facing a mounting drumbeat of legal fights in the US over its treatment of its youngest users. Those included a lawsuit filed by dozens of US states in October, which alleged that the company had contributed to a youth mental health crisis and misled the public about the risks of using social media. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight one or two more pieces of vocabulary here. The first is mounting, and the second is drumbeat. So mounting is like when it's rising. Think of a mountain goes up. So a mountain is when it's increasing. So it's an increasing drumbeat. Drumbeat here, I'm kind of interested by this choice of words. I wouldn't use it myself, but if you break it down and you see drum beat, the beat of a drum, I guess it's this idea of a regular occurrence of legal fights. So there's this kind of um, constant flow. There's now this kind of emerging amount of legal fights. So it's like mounting, going up and up and up steadily, like a drum beat goes. It's going up, 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 gradually like that and consistently. So that is the idea of a mounting drum beat. And mounting here is an adjective, by the way. I just wanted to also to highlight, well, a lawsuit filed by dozens. Just in case you didn't know that one, that's 12. So a dozen is 12. 12, so dozens, so I don't know, 12, not just 12, but dozens, 12, 12, 12, many around, instead of saying tens of many, yeah, it's dozens, dozens. Yeah, so that's all for this piece of the article. I'm not going to go any further, but there's a lot there already. So just to review this page, we had duped, and that's a verb, to dupe. We had to bar, not the kind of bar where you go for a drink, but to bar is to prohibit. To call the shots is an expression to mean that you control something, you control the decisions, you make the decisions. To tweak as well as a verb. It's also a noun, a tweak, to tweak, and it's to alter something, to make a small change to something. Misleading here was an adjective, but you can also say to mislead, so to lead someone in the wrong direction, to deceive someone. And then we had mounting, which is increasing, like a mountain is going up. And we have drumbeat, which is something that is consistent, something happening at the beat of a drum, an even rhythm. And dozens is 12. So that is all for this article. And I think there was a lot of interesting vocabulary there to look at in terms of legal vocabulary, also more general, formal, and semi formal vocabulary. So tell me, what is your favorite piece of vocabulary that we have looked at? Write it in the chat. Maybe write an example sentence to put it into use and how you could use it. And don't forget to sign up for my newsletter to get all the latest news on the events that I run, and also any free downloads that I have. Hopefully, I can make some vocabulary lists of these articles. If you like this video, let me know because I can make other videos like this in the future. And thank you very much for watching this video. And let me just make myself a bit bigger. Yes, thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and I will certainly definitely make some other videos in the future. And I'll talk to you in the next video.